Next question we've got here from Michael. So given we've got the first interest rate cut, what changes for you guys as buyers agents seen on the ground from both buyers and sellers? So I guess there's a few things I'll go through, and I'll probably talk through some personal experience over the last few weeks. I've been actively going to open homes over the last few weeks, kind of which ties in with a rate cut. So firstly, particularly if we take a look at the auctions, so and I'll pull up in some other data, but if you take a look, particularly Melbourne, so last week, nearly 1,400 auctions. The previous week, 1,200. At the same time last year, there was 283 auctions. Pretty similar story to what's happening in Sydney. Your Brisbane and Adelaide market, they don't get a whole heap of auctions in general. That's more for your blue chip or unique properties that go to auction up there. Most other parts of the countries are doing private sale. It's a Sydney and Melbourne thing. But if we look at kind of weeks gone by, so let's just go. So week ending 2nd of March, 225 auctions. This wasn't, just for full clarity, this wasn't when the first rate cut was announced, because that happened in mid-February. This is when it took effect. So everybody kind of starts to get their lending in order. They go speak with their broker. They got their pre-approvals. They're ready to go. They're not ready to go and purchase necessarily middle of Feb once the rate cut gets announced. They're ready to go 2, 3, 4 weeks later. Look at this auction number that goes up from 225 to 896. Then it's at 900, 863. And then we had the weekend just gone, 1,400. Now, the clearance rate dropped massively here. Is there a bit of auction fatigue? Was there maybe too much, where there were too many properties competing against one each other, and that's why the clearance rate was lower? I couldn't really tell you exactly why. We haven't got enough sample size there. But I'm even seeing it because myself personally, I've been out and about in and around the Melbourne market looking for properties for myself to buy for investments. And I've seen, because I was looking prior to Christmas, but my finance wasn't ready, unfortunately. And I've seen, most of the sales on the market were private sale. This dramatic shift where nearly every opportunity that I'm coming through is going for auction, even in areas which historically don't auction. They're all going to auction. These agents have weathered the storm. They've gone for a few quiet years, and they now know that particularly first home buyers are hitting the market hard. When I'm going to these opens, there was one open the other week. I was down around the southeast along the coast of Melbourne. I went to 4 open homes all in a row, and basically all of them had 15 to 30 people going through the open, and they weren't the first open. So these aren't even the first open for that property. And we're getting pretty crazy numbers, not as crazy as we saw maybe in pockets of Perth and Brisbane when they're at the heat of the market. But it's telling me that the market is getting so competitive. There's first home buyers hitting it really hard. I'm getting particularly lots of questions from people who are looking to potentially engage our service. Nearly everybody who's not based in Melbourne are all asking about buying in Victoria. It's definitely making properties more competitive. Agents are going to that tactic. They want to get the property kind of settled in that week or that first week, or it's going to auction. So that's the big difference. You'll start to see that price movement reflected on some of the data in the coming months. But one property that I went to on the weekend for auction, to give you a bit of insight, the house next door, bigger land, much bigger house, better spec house, sold in November next door for $842. The property that I went was, speaking with the agent, I know the agent fairly well. We had the range at 690 to 740, and that's where the reserve was actually sat. And the agent was kind of pretty certain that it'd get between about 740 to 780. This property, again, was inferior in every way. It was next door to it. It sold for $852,000. So that market is just going to just keep getting more and more aggressive. We didn't get a rate cut today, but there's, I guess, consumer confidence come through that the rate rises have ended. A lot of the banks are kind of flagging more rate cuts towards, I guess, the back end of the year. And if we do get those government policy changes, or some of them come in, it's going to push more buyers into the market, and more confidence, because particularly first home buyers, they've been sitting stagnant on the side for several years. And particularly in Victoria, the last kind of 18 months or prior, it was investors getting out of here because they wanted to chase, greener pastures in other states. That investor stock has completely dried up. There's been a low amount of stock come to market. Now you're seeing sellers flood the market because there's demand there. So that's why these listings are increasing as well, and auctions are increasing because there is demand there. So yeah, that's a bit of insight for you in terms of what's happening on the ground, particularly down here in the Melbourne side of things.